Hello children and welcome to Wednesday's English lesson. Now I'm really excited about our writing today because we're going to be using our writing rainbow and our lenses from the writing rainbow and our non-fiction shapes to work together to learn to understand how to write instructions. I want you to think back to last term, to October in fact, so before half term, and we did lots of work using the book Grandad's Island. And do you remember how for a number of days we looked at different parts of the story, our plot points, and we learned to retell the story by writing, looking at different lenses of our writing rainbow. We might be looking at questions, we might have been looking at description, we might have been looking at dialogue. And we learned how to do that until we built up our own class story, our own version of Grandad's Island, and then we wrote our own adventure stories. We did all our sentence stacking. Do you remember that, children? Our lovely display on the window. Well, that's what we're going to be doing with our instructions, except we're not using plot points. We are going to be using our shapes that we looked at yesterday. Now, if you look at the PDF file that is on our remote learning page, I've added in pictures of the shapes. I've also put in the writing rainbow, and I've told you which lenses we're going to look through. You're going to have to explain to your grown-ups exactly what that means, so that for each part of our writing, we're thinking about one of our writing tools. We might be thinking about our punctuation or sentence types. We might be thinking about adding description because we're using adjectives, so we're noticing what is going on around us or how we could describe things. We might be using alliteration. So we're going to come up with all those different tools and we're going to practice them, and we're going to work together to create a model of a set of good instructions, and then you're going to use that to help you write independently a little bit later on. Now, in school, we would do lots of talking about the words that we would use in our writing, lots of brainstorming. We'd have lots of ideas. Mrs. Riley would give you some ideas and you give me some ideas back, and we've been noting them down on our working wall. We can't do that if we're not in class together, but you can talk to your grown-up. And Mrs. Riley has put some starter ideas in the PDF for each time that we need to think of new words, and then you can chat to your grown-up. And whilst you're chatting, you can be jotting down your words. Do you remember we don't call it jotting, do we, when we're in our English lessons and we're chatting and jotting? We call it jotting. So you can talk and write down your ideas at the same time on the planning sheet. And just like we do when we're in school, you are going to have a planning sheet to work through or to work on. And that's going to help you collect your ideas, and then you're going to have a writing sheet. Now, they're both on the remote learning page as PDF files, and you can use those, or you can just make up your own, as long as you know which lens you're looking through. So draw the little pictures to help you know where to collect your ideas, and then you can take those ideas and expand them into sentences. Now, Mrs. Riley has put lots of starter ideas in each section of our writing, and you can use those, you can magpie them, but I do want you to have a go at thinking of your own ideas. So what are we going to be doing? Well, we're going to write the first part of our instructions, and that's going to involve the heading, it's going to involve the hook, and it's going to involve some questions because they're part of the hook. And it's also going to involve us making a list of the things that we need. Now, I don't want to make things too simple, so we're going to have to do lots of thinking. So the first thing we're going to come up with is a heading for our instructions. Now, you remember yesterday that we saw lots of headings in instructions that were written how to. And we could write a how-to heading for our instructions. We're going to be making a sandwich, by the way, but you know, Mrs. Riley, it's not going to be an ordinary sandwich. So we could write how to make a sandwich as our heading. I think we could do better than that. I think we could add some more detail into that heading. So, for example, how to make a brilliant sandwich, how to make a great sandwich, how to make a fabulous sandwich, how to make a brilliant sandwich, or how to make the best sandwich in the world. When you get to that part, I want you to think of some really good vocabulary that you could use to make the title, the heading of our instructions stand out, not just how to. After you've done that, we're going to look at the hook. And the hook is all about those rhetorical questions, those are the ones that don't need an answer, that entice your reader to carry on reading. And we're going to learn how to write those rhetorical questions by thinking of some really good question words. So we can have our ordinary question words of who, why, where, when, what, did. Or we could use some question phrases. What would you think? I wonder what would happen if. Have you always wanted? So I'm sure you can come up with lots and lots of really good ideas. Some ideas in our PDF file you'll need to chat and jot your ideas down on our planning sheet before you write your first question. Make sure that it ends in a question mark and it starts with a capital letter. I'm going to be checking. But we're not just going to write one question in our hook, we're then going to write another question. And we're going to use some alliteration. And do you remember what alliteration is? We've practiced this in class. Alliteration is where we have words that begin with the same sound. So I might have lovely Layla is my cat. So lovely and Layla both begin with the same sound. And you are going to practice with your grown-ups creating some alliteration. And then you're going to think of how you could describe our sandwich, which is a kind of food, using an alliterative phrase. So you might want to think of a mouth-watering morsel. So you're going to come up with good words for food and good words to describe that food beginning with the same letters. There are lots of ideas in our PDF file. Then once we've done that, we're going to write what's called a call to action. This is the sentence that actually tells your reader, if you follow these instructions, because they're so easy to do or they're so wonderful, you're going to have the best result ever. And I've got lots of information for you in the PDF file to follow to explain how to do that. Now, once you've done that, we are going to add in our list of things that we need to get ready before we actually explain how to make our sandwich. It's our list of what you will need, and that's our second part of our lesson. We're going to write two lists, one for equipment and one for ingredients, and there's some pictures in the PDF file of the ingredients for the sandwich and the equipment that I used. Now, I think we should stick with my ingredients at the moment. I might let you as a challenge add one or two extra of your own. You're going to make lists and you're going to use bullet points. Now remember, bullet points are those dots that we put before each item in a list. And remember, our list we write down the page. We're not using lists across the page with commas. This time we're going to write our lists down the page. But obviously, Mrs. Riley just doesn't want a straightforward list. She wants some extra details, some precise adjectives to tell me exactly what kind of ingredients I might need. So, for example, if I was going to put an apple in my sandwich, I'm not giving away what is in my ingredients, I might want to say a ripe, crunchy apple or a ripe, juicy apple. So you're going to come up with lots of precise adjectives that you can use. There is a deepen the moment challenge if you want to add some extra information. And then when you've done your work, I need to see it because we need to create our sentence stack in class so that we have got our class model. So please email it to me so that I can pick out different phrases, different sentences, different parts of the list that I can use and we can pop up on our window, and I'll make sure there are copies of it on our remote learning page so that you can see. Obviously I'll be saying who's done some brilliant work, and then we can move on tomorrow to writing the steps for our instruction. So looking forward to seeing what you do today, year 2. Send me lots and lots of emails. I know that this might be a little bit more difficult for your grown-ups, but you've done this before and you know how to do it, so you're going to have to tell them. I'm really looking forward to seeing some fabulous vocabulary choices. Have fun. See you tomorrow. Bye.